Hi, it's Chad with Heirloom Farm and Forage, and billions of honeybees die every year because of one thing. It's not pesticides or starvation or chemicals of any sorts. It's the Varroa destructor mite. They get in these colonies and they weaken the bees and they spread viruses. Average of 50% of honeybees die every single year because of these mites. It's become a real problem. They didn't even come around until like the early 90s, and they came from the eastern countries. Funny thing is the eastern bees have adapted to them, and it really doesn't bother them near as bad, but they devastate ours. So there's kind of two different schools of thoughts with this on how to deal with this. One group, the more natural group, says we need to let the bees build up their own resistance to these mites and deal with them themselves. But then the commercial beekeepers say, I can't lose 50 to 70% of my hives, or actually probably 90% if they don't treat at all. So it's kind of a catch-22 there. I'm somewhere in the middle. Of course, I'm small time and this is just a hobby for me. I only have 8 or 10 hives. I see both sides. My first year, I had 2 hives and I lost them both. So I had to buy bees the next year, and I lost half of them the second year. And so I understand it's a real problem. But there's people that are breeding for this resistance of them. The thing is, in order to do that, you're just going to have to lose some hives, like basically make it survival of the fittest. And if they can't deal with mites, then they're going to die. Then whatever's left is going to be able to deal with mites. That's the thought. But like I said, commercial beekeepers, they can't lose that many hives or they would be completely out of business. So before I decide whether I'm going to treat or not, I need to test them and see how many mites they have. See how bad their infestation is. See if they're dealing with it themselves. And so this is how I do that. Give a little smoke in the entrance here. Chill them out a little bit. A little smoke under the lid. So I'm going to grab a frame around the brood area. I'm going to make sure the queen's not on it. Then I'm going to shake it off into this Tupperware tub. Scoop out a half a cup, which is about 300 bees, and throw them in the alcohol wash. Of course, it's very important. You want to make sure your queen's not on here, because killing your queen, especially at this time of the year, is bad news. I'm going to shake them off. Let the foragers fly off. We don't really want the foragers anyway. Knock the bees down to there. Plop them in the cup. Of course, it makes them not happy at all. But it's for their own good. Shake them up. Make sure they all die immediately. Now I can put this hive together while I'm waiting. Now I'm going to swirl this, not violently, just swirl it gently for about 1 minute. And it'll kill the bees and it'll kill the mites, and it'll hopefully knock the mites off of the bees and they'll sink to the bottom. And then we can see how many we have in this sample. So since we got 300 bees in here roughly, if we had 3 mites out of 300 bees, that's a 1% infestation. And I think the threshold that most people use is 2%. So if you had 6 mites in here, you'd want to treat them. The thing about it is, going into the winter, you know that mites weaken the bees and then they die over winter because they're too weak to survive. And so now's the time of year we got to make sure they're healthy so we have some time to get them healthy again. Okay, now take her lid off, pull out our shaker cage, and I can throw out these dead bees. Thanks for sacrificing yourself for the cause. It brings up a good point. Any of these bees would give their life for the cause. In fact, they do. If something was getting into their colony, they would sting knowing that they're going to die from stinging it. So, sounds rough, killing 300 bees, but the colony would definitely do that themselves if given the choice. So, let's see what we got here. I don't see any. That's awesome. This #1 hive here that I just tested, like, they are awesome anyway. But you can see, I mean, there's some debris in there, but there's no mites. You can definitely tell what mites are. Cool. A lot of people are using dish soap and water now instead of alcohol. I guess it works just as well. But it just so happens I'd bought 3 gallons of alcohol before I knew that. So that's what I'm using. Ooh, this one's got some mites. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So see those ovular brownish red critters in there? Those are varroa mites. That means I'm going to need to treat this colony with something or let them die. Looks like we got a 2 on this one. And also I'm keeping notes of this. I'm writing it on the hive so that when I come back I'll remember what the count is and I'll treat them, and then I'll check them again and make sure that the count is dropped. Here's our numbers. 0, 7, 2, 1. Oh, forgot to mark this one. 14, 9, 1, and 2. So overall, pretty good numbers, but that shows why you got to test every single colony. I mean, I guess maybe if you had 2,000, 2,500, whatever colonies, then maybe you wouldn't do that. But a lot of people with even 10 or 20 or 50 will just test a few of them and decide if they want to treat or not. But this shows, I have a lot of 0s and 1s and 2s, but then I got a 14 and a 9. So I'm just going to treat those. The ones with low numbers, I'm going to let them ride it out. Hopefully they have their own defense against them. And then I'm going to breed from those queens next year so that hopefully then the next generation will be the same. Anyway, I'm not a professional beekeeper, but that's the way that I do it. It seems to work for me so far. I appreciate you guys watching. If you like this sort of stuff or farm stuff, blacksmithing, chickens, cows, pigs, anything like that, please subscribe to my channel and give us a like. Thanks for watching. Come back and see us again.